Hello everyone and welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is The Stranger Next to Me by Plague 692. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. I used to work the graveyard shift at my office job. I lived alone, so I could come back as late as I wanted without much consequence. I finished at 4 a.m. every morning. The streets were always empty and still dark. The building I worked at bordered the woods, and the other side was mostly just housing and farms. My company sold chemicals for planting, growing, and breeding, so we were quite famous and well regarded amongst the community. But still during the night, I would be the only one on the street. I had a bus pass, so I was able to ride home without buying a ticket. So every night I waited at the stop, so I wouldn't have to deal with the gas costs going back and forth every day. For most of the time, I worked the late hours. I was alone, sitting at the bus stop until one morning, there was a calm-looking man in a black coat who was staring down at his hands in boredom. "Howdy, stranger," I said in a friendly greeting. He looked up, surprised that someone else was here this night. "Oh, hi," he said, rubbing his hands. "Why are you here at this hour?" he asked after his first comment. "I work at the building up there." I pointed to the company building. I always work the late shift to avoid people. Clearly I gotta change plans now. I chuckled and asked, "How about you?" "Yeah, I work in the woods there. Used to use other ways to get home, but now I gotta take the bus," he answered back. The bus pulled up, and I began to go in. "You coming?" He shook his head, saying, "Nope, mine's the next." The next night, while everyone was getting home, I was about to go to work. I walked down to the bus stop. The windows were covered with several hundred copies of the same 4 missing person flyers. It's a small town, but there have been a few people going missing. To keep me safe, I kept a small punch knife in my pocket. I worked all night and came back to the stop, and there he was, once again. "And we meet again," I said, with my arms out in a friendly and welcoming gesture. "Oh, yes we do. Late shift again?" he said, confused. "I always do the late shift. That's why everyone loves me," I said jokingly. "Ah, nice. Well, you are here a bit earlier than last night," he said. "Yeah, last night I had some reports I needed to finish right then and there, so I wasn't allowed to do my normal amount of procrastination," I said. He softly chuckled in return. "Well, come on, stranger. Sit down. We're gonna be here for a while," he said while making a gesture to me to sit down. We talked for a while. He told me about his life, and I told him about mine. We talked about pets, experiences, hobbies, books, shows, movies. Then the bus came, and we went our separate ways once more. This continued night after night. His mannerisms became more relaxed every morning. When we first met, he was stim and ticked to calm himself, but the more we talked, he stopped. Though we talked as much as we did every night, I still considered him a stranger, maybe an acquaintance at best. I also remember the missing persons were starting to stack up, and they started to stop searching to the point where they stopped putting up the signs of the first handful of victims. I never realized until I looked at the posters closely that all the victims were young adult women. So much potential wasted. Whoever did this to them deserved to burn in hell. One night I brought a carton of cigarettes because the dispenser at work kept running out. When I came out to my acquaintance, he seemed nervous. I'm not sure why, but he was quiet and didn't speak much when I came out. He was sweating and seemingly refused to make eye contact with me. I sat down quietly. I figured he was stressed out about something, so I offered him a cigarette from my box. He took it from me, and I lit it with the lighter I kept in my coat pocket. He took a hit of it and calmed down a little, and he started to talk. When I was younger, I wasn't very popular, he said. The girls didn't like me, and the guys avoided me at all cost, so I never had friends. It was just hell in general. He took another hit and continued. When I went to college, it wasn't much better. I tried to join a few frats, but after my hell weeks, I'd always be rejected. When I got out of college and entered the workforce, I had no luck. I was living at my mother's house with an associate's degree in art history, so I was unemployed. He looked at me in the eyes, then at the ground. You're my first real friend, you know? With another look into my eyes and long hard puff of his cigarette, he sighed and said to me, I've killed 15 women. I'm here every morning because I buried their bodies in the woods behind your building. A bolt of fear went through me, and I started to reach for my knife, but he put up his hand. No, I'm not gonna hurt you. Even if you weren't my friend, you aren't what I look for. He finished his cigarette and stomped it against the ground. He stood up and took off his black coat. Underneath was a light gray workout shirt, covered from stem to stem with blood. Here, take this. He gave me the coat. The inside was covered with blood. He looked back at me before walking away and saying, Stranger, my name is David Flynn. I know you're scared of me. You hate me. But I want you to know, you're the reason there weren't 16. I was glued to the bench with fear as my eyes locked onto his every move with my knife in hand. Until a few minutes later, I wasn't able to move enough to get my hands on my phone to call the police. I was taken in and told them everything. They kept me and placed me in a witness protection type of thing. While I walked into my house, I saw a letter that had gone through my mail slot. It was unmarked, but I opened it out of curiosity. Inside it had black scribbled handwriting with a message that read, I know what you've done, and thank you. All I can say is thank you. I can't stop thanking you for letting them stop me. From the stranger next to you to the stranger next to me.